Today's video is sponsored by Squarespace. To build the site of your dreams today, go to squarespace.com/snowman and use the code SNOWMAN for 10% off your first website. Let's go! Oh, hey, sorry guys, give me 1 second. I gotta reach the level of chocolate chip sensei. Okay, and we're good. Whenever I think of clicker, or sometimes called idle or incremental games, I get really confused. They're essentially the most bare bones experiences when it comes to actual gameplay. You just click numbers to watch those numbers go up, and then wait for other numbers to increase so you can click more numbers. So why in the world are these games so addictive? I've seen countless people, myself included, get sucked into the same trap time and time again. Why do we keep playing them knowing they're so inherently shallow? Let's talk about it. Ooh, golden cookie. In case you've never played a clicker game, they're called that for a reason. Your only mechanic is to click things on screen, and you'll be doing it a lot. Most all of these titles follow the same structure. You start out with nothing and need to click your way to the first upgrade, which will automatically start clicking for you. And you build from there until you have an army of enhancements, so you don't have to click at all to gain resources. These increase in power, but also jump exponentially in cost the further you get. So eventually this leads to major progress walls, where you'll have to wait for your currency to get high enough to purchase the next upgrade. This is where the moniker idle games came in. The longer you play, the more you'll have to wait. So many people just let them run in the background while they do other things, until they can play again and then repeat ad nauseum. Now, many clicker games get around this becoming boring by introducing a prestige system that allows you to completely reset your progress to the beginning, but with a permanent buff to your click power, so you can get back to your original state much faster and beyond to higher heights from there. On top of this, several games include little bonus clickables that appear on screen for a limited time, which allow you to have an extra boost to your productions, while others keep collecting even when the game is turned off. So if you go to bed and come back in the morning, you'll have a nice pool of money to spend. Either way, this system has drawn in huge audiences that keep coming back day after day to watch numbers rise, with no other purpose than that alone. And nowadays, it's spawned countless wikis and thousands of different iterations, complete with memes and terrible art assets galore. Who puts corn on pizza? How did something that started as a joke to make fun of grindy game mechanics turn into an industry behemoth that's so alluring? What caused me to drop over 60 hours into Adventure Capitalist without even realizing it? It just doesn't logically add up. Well, we're about to get scientific up in here. Strap in, Snobabies. There's a few different psychological elements going on in clicker games, but let's start with the most obvious. We as humans love reaching goals. If there's something you've been working toward, it feels good when you finally achieve it. And at an even more basic level, we just like watching numbers go up. They did experiments on animals in these things called operant conditioning chambers, or Skinner boxes named after their creator, to see if giving a piece of food would encourage the animals to keep doing a desired repetitive action, or in some cases punish them for not doing so. And wouldn't you know it, of course they kept doing the random simple task, because they got a treat out of it. In gaming, we see this all the time. Besides obvious comparisons like slot machines or loot boxes, this is also why achievements are so effective. It feels good to be rewarded for your actions. And instead of only getting that feeling of satisfaction when beating a game, this is taken to the extreme in incremental games because you gain achievements all the time. In fact, it seems to be what the entire system is based on. So if you don't feel like you're accomplishing much in your real life, whether you're just bored or simply going through the motions, you can boot up an idle game and feel rewarded over and over again, and with very little effort needed. Progress feels good, even if it's in a silly video game. But in addition to this, you're dealing with our need for closure and something called the Zeigarnik Effect, coined by a psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik, but you can just call her Miss Z for short. She basically found through her research that people remember incomplete tasks better than ones we've completed, and I'm sure you can attest that this is true. I can't tell you how many games I've beaten, but I can definitely remember the ones that I haven't. The games that bested me stick out like a sore thumb in my brain that desires order. We want goals and tasks to be completed, so when they aren't, we'll put in the effort to finish them. This is why you see people like the completionist, or those satisfied when they get another platinum trophy. there's a sense of relief when you achieve your goals. So with all that considered, are clicker games really all that bad? Is it hurting anyone to have games that focus on those aspects of our brain? Well, from a game design perspective, I would argue that yes, it is, and for two major reasons. One, there is no ending to these games, and two, it uses real time as a mechanic. Let's break it down a little bit. So yes, while you can complete various tasks throughout your playthrough of an idle game, without an actual win state or end in sight, there will always be this sense of lingering desire to play more. It'll never go away because there is no final accomplishment. You can see everything the game has to offer, but your numbers will keep going up until they simply don't mean anything anymore. Eventually, it feels like the only reason you'll keep playing is because of the sunk cost fallacy, where you'll tell yourself, I've already spent so much time building up my stats, it would be a waste if I quit now. And even if you reset with an added prestige bonus, that feeling of satisfaction will quickly become more and more fleeting, as you realize the entire experience is ultimately pointless. But even from a more tangible design aspect, it's my opinion that using real time to drive your progress is a manipulative practice. The hilariously ironic thing about idle games is that the best way to play them is to actually not play them at all. If you go away and focus on other things and then come back after not playing for a while, you'll have a much larger amount of resources to spend than if you sat there and watched it the entire time. Now, I'm not talking from an optimal strategy perspective, but simply from a perceived enjoyment point of view. When you wake up and come back to your game that's been collecting money all night, you can spend it on bigger upgrades than if you kept buying smaller things as they became available. And if you stop playing entirely for, let's say, years at a time, you can come back to an inconceivable amount of cash to blow. But what you'll find is that when you take away the real-time limitations by doing this, the entire game design philosophy falls apart. When I was in high school, my dad and I used to play Mafia Wars on Facebook, back when games were the main reason people made an account at all, and we were having a fun time with it until one day my dad got a weird glitch, and when he opened the game, it had given him an obscene amount of money, way more than he could ever make normally. But instead of being excited about this, what he found was that the enjoyment of the game had totally gone away. Without the slow progression and building up of his assets, the game had lost all of its allure in one fell swoop. This is where games that actually get this stuff right really shine through. When I first booted up Stardew Valley, I realized it did everything Farmville tried to do but infinitely better, because it had taken out any element of real-time waiting. If you wanted to keep playing, grow more crops, or gain more resources, you just could right away. There was no asking your friends to help water your garden, or waiting 24 hours for green beans to sprout. It was balanced around playing at your own pace. You know, like what a game should really be about in the first place. It's your time and enjoyment after all, not Zynga's. Plus, when you start dealing with real-world minutes and hours, it only invites other predatory practices to join in, like microtransactions to speed up the process, or buying a leg up to reach the next plateau even faster, which not only feels slimy just to talk about, but in the case of clickers defeats the actual purpose of playing the game in the first place. Edmund Macmillan even made an incremental title himself called AVGM. The goal of this game was to click the light switch over and over until more items appeared in your room. It took more and more clicks in between each item as time went on, eventually reaching upwards of 10,000 clicks to beat the game. And what do you receive for finishing the gauntlet of doing nothing but clicking a light switch for over 30 minutes? The revelation of what the title actually stands for: abusive video game manipulation. At the end of the day, that's really what it is. Do you have to play them? Of course not. And I'm not saying you're a bad person for playing them, I'm guilty of this as well. But when you sit back and look at the big picture, they highlight how many different games can take advantage of our subconscious desires, to steal our money at the worst, but our time at the very least. And to me, in no way can it be considered good game design. They've sort of dropped off in popularity in recent years, but I've noticed the techniques that they employed are still cropping up all over the place, especially in the mobile game space. It's no secret that microtransactions seem to be the mainstream way to get people to pay for your free-to-download title these days. But I want to encourage you to support creators who are making actual quality experiences without predatory practices. And be sure to look out for the next big game that might try to swindle you behind your back. We've come a long way from horse armor DLC, and have accepted shady business strategies today that would have been unanimously condemned 10 or 15 years ago. I guess I'm just trying to say to be diligent, and make sure you know what you're getting into before you click on that next big shiny cookie. Thanks for watching another episode of Bad Game Design. I'll see you guys next time. Stay frosty, my friends. Huge thanks to Squarespace for making it possible to launch my website snowmangaming.com. I wanted to make sure you knew I've posted a new editing tutorial on animation that you can check out right now in the description below. Not only was it super easy to use the tools Squarespace provided for site building, but it helped me to create something I'm really proud of. There's so many templates and options to choose from, and I had no issue purchasing the domain through them as well. Due to being extremely helpful through customer support and full of resources to learn from, I had the confidence to try and create beyond what I thought I was capable of. So if you're in the market for a website of your own, you can go to squarespace.com/snowman and use the offer code snowman for 10% off your first purchase. Bye-bye!